Welcome to the Black Men Experiences channel. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, this black man was wrongfully convicted of robbing, you know the word R-A-P-E, this girl almost 35 years ago, was awarded multiple millions. But yes, but it could have been very different. Could have been a very different outcome when he's convicted around 1991 when this happened. So this black man was minding his business and doing his things in life. And then this particular female, this Anglo female, by the way, she was around about 16 years old at that time in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so she was waiting for her boyfriend that was working at this diner. And as she was in the car waiting for him, there was two men that came into the car she was in. One man went into the diner and was trying to do some robbery, etc. The other man grabbed her up, the 16-year-old little female, and supposedly had robbed her, right? Well, then the accusation was that it was a black male who was a former diner worker in there. I'm just setting the direction up with that. And I make this point because it could have been totally different. It's almost like the ghost of the Tulsa race riots. Yes. Around 1920, 1921, the Tulsa race riot. When you're talking about Black Wall Street, since you got some people, let's just say some black-skinned type people who know that cosplay Black Americans. And again, I'm not talking about some of the good ones, so we're not going to play it again. We're talking about some of the ones that fled their places and have this diabolical envy of Black Americans, but they sit there and be like, oh, Black people are lazy, but they fled, right? And oh my goodness, talking about racism, right? But at the same time, 1921, 1920, most of the black skin cosplaying the Black Americans wouldn't even like that in America. The demographics would have been barely nothing on the radar. So many of them from that time, let me phrase that time wouldn't even thought of, but how many now in this present moment of the 21st century have written off the back of black pain of Black American males and over the Black American women? See the nerve of that. See, it wasn't because of the Tulsa race riot that this particular Anglo woman in this building that this black man was working at in this elevator, as an elevator person, what he was doing, elevator person, basically, right? That's operating elevator, go up and down, wherever it is. She accused him of basically sexual assaulting her and robbing her. And it was chaos in Tulsa. And that's basically what started the demonness of the Tulsa anti-American Black race riot that unalived many numbers of Black American people off a lie. So it's almost like the ghost of the Tulsa racial riotness, 1920-ish, could have easily came to existence toward this gentleman, right? And the countless numbers of Black American males who have lost their lives by the accusation by certain numbers of women within certain sections of Paname's culture. Now, don't get it confused, because you have some little silliness of sister of chaos. Well, see, because those Black males, they're always trying to get with the Anglo women, go to Haiti. They can. right? Because we're not going to talk about the number of the Sister of Chaos members, right? That's been getting with some of the ones within the males within the plant-based culture themselves. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the ones that they get with numbers of ones within the plant-based culture and have the nerve look down upon American black males. But they can sit there and date who they want. But when the black male dates who they want, then the Sister of Chaos got a problem with that. They don't go to, they don't. So let me go ahead and share my screen on this situation. One moment here. So let me go ahead and play this particular video. Let me make sure my mic, the microphone is, the mic is where I want it. Okay, here we go. So let me maximize this and we're gonna play the video. I'm utilizing this for fair usage doctrine. And today is November the 20th, 2025.
The city of Tulsa has agreed to pay a whopping $26 million to a man who was wrongfully convicted of rape and spent decades in prison because of it. News Channel 8's Burt Mumlo reports on the shocking circumstances that led to this massive settlement. Burt.
A devastating portrait of injustice. That's how Henry Jamerson's lawyer describes his case. The story of a man who was told time and again that the crucial evidence in his case, which could prove his innocence, no longer existed, only to find out it actually did.
Now, that part is a major part as well. You had Harvard enforcement people and Harvard other personnel that outright lied and said the evidence that could have crucially freed this black man of this wrongful falsification of rock of the 16-year-old girl, Anglo girl, was even brought up. And by the way, he was only around 22 himself. He's only around 22 and got sentenced for many years in prison.
I don't be playing around with my freedom.
When we interviewed him back in April, Henry Jamerson had just filed an 89-page lawsuit in federal court after spending decades behind bars following a wrongful conviction in the 1991 rape of a 16-year-old.
All of it is shocking.
Attorney Dan Smolin is Jamerson's lawyer, who meticulously laid out the tangled web of jaw-dropping allegations of wrongdoing by the police department, the DA's office, and the city, even the current police chief.
I think he definitely knew.
He says, of wrongdoing by the police department, the DA's office, and the city, even the current police chief.
I think he.
But what was that again? But they'll try to tell none of the black Americans, you just, you start bringing up racism and, just believe Harvard enforcement people, as if there was never numbers of KKK that also infiltrated numbers of enforcement agencies. That's a known thing for the people who know. There was an investigation, there was reports, there is research that has shown that numbers of various parts, even the 21st century, that certain type of enforcement people are inundated with Klan type membership mentality type ones. Now, there are ones who know they're not like that. If it doesn't apply, then it don't damn apply. Right? And how many numbers of enforcement personnel, not a long time ago, right, was enacted for slave patrols against black Americans? Not because they're from Africa, not because they're from some Caribbean island, but because they're a black American. So it's like chalkboard to me when you hear some cosplaying tethers, they have the nerve to try to talk about black Americans and they fled. I got a major problem with that. It's an insult to the black American ancestors on that, who lost their lives. And you got people that are cosplaying black Americans who once applies to, because they fled and they were nothing in their own country before when they fled from people that looked like them because they know they were nothing in their countries. And they fled because Harvard personnel allowed them to come to America to be a bufferness against black American. And many of them, they wish they was Anglo looking. they go to sleep wishing they can wake up with a Anglo-ness of a non-melanesian. They pray that they wake up without the beautiful ancientness of black skin and different shades of black. By the way, there's also brown skin, light skin, etc., from various Africanness, from various Caribbeanness, right? But they hate themselves so bad, they get to America and they do whatever that they look at as their gods to sit there and lie and cheat and scam and do whatever it is and show envious, anything else toward Black Americans, because they would love to have a little pat on their head from various people within sections of the predominant culture the one applies to.
He definitely
knew, he says, that authorities had the DNA evidence from Jamerson's case, even though time and again when Jamerson asked to have it tested, he was told it no longer existed. Quote, "We decline your request to inspect the Tulsa Police Department laboratory and/or property room to search for a piece of evidence that we are certain we have destroyed."
They had maintained that it had been looked for. They had looked at everywhere possible, that it couldn't be found, that they were certain that it didn't exist anymore.
The DA's office, he says, jumped on the bandwagon. There is no reason to doubt the city of Tulsa's diligence in failing to locate petitioner's evidence.
That's statements that they made to a court in the Tulsa County Courthouse during evidentiary hearings.
And city legal? No better, he says.
It's been destroyed. The city on letterhead wrote from the legal department, we're not going to go look for something that we're certain has been destroyed.
But
the outright demonicism of that personnel, they were lawyers, whatever it is, should have been disbarred. However, other personnel workers should have been fired. They should have been sued. Falsification, hiding of evidential evidence, covering up evidence, a hate crime. That's exactly what it was, still a type of hate crime, because you lied about the evidence. That sounds almost like some OJ in this situation, right? See how that goes, right? And all these years, the OJ situation, and you still got people bringing that stuff up. Oh my God, OJ this, OJ that, and then there's all kind of questionable things of, wait a minute now. I mean, some things that make any sense, because it's also relayed over by some people, witnesses, that they saw some other people. They said, wait a minute, that daughter that they keep trying to act like that was so innocent, they found that people are saying, wait a minute, she ain't innocent. People think she was. Oh, but see, that's not going to be brought up a lot. See how that goes, right? See how that goes. Now, in this situation, if this was vice versa, you think for a second how the same people that covered up, falsified, right, hiding evidentialness, you think they would do the same thing if a black male truly had did this to an Anglo woman? And you think somebody, they think they would accept it and say, well, we don't have no evidence. Well, we can't do anything about that. Please.
But lo and behold, after a 7-year legal battle, Smolin got a court order to search the property room himself. And within just a few hours,
it was surreal. It was surreal that we had found it. It was surreal that we had been lied to for so long about the existence of it. It was shocking.
Few hours.
It was surreal. It was surreal that we had found it. It was surreal that we had been lied to.
That should have been definitely, if they were people practicing lawyerism, they should have been disbanded, and how many should have been brought up on charges. And how personnel that outright lied and covered up should again been brought up on charges, some kind of charges. Because if this was vice versa, oh, you best believe, and that black man did that to an Anglo woman for real, oh, you best believe there's no such thing as they wouldn't go as far as they need to go to sit there and create or whatever you need to do to sit there and pound in to sit there that black male into prisoners. You best believe that.
for so long about the existence of it. It was shocking that Henry had been asking for this and denied the opportunity over decades to have had an opportunity to get out of prison for a crime that he had nothing to do with.
And where's all that old justice for all? Where's all of that? Justice is blind. Where's that justice for all? Where's all that at? You got more justice for border breaker illegal immigrants than you have for Black Americans. And again, I'm not talking about some scary, some naive, some gullible ones within certain parts of Black Americanism, because there's so much black bang going on within Black Americanism, right? And that's why I'm saying, so for that, there's no anti-American Black hate crime bill, but they made sure less than a few years ago to get an anti-Asian hate crime bill and try to sit there and blame it on Black, blame Black blacks. And they found out it wasn't Black folks that was sitting there doing this, assaulting and doing hate crime toward the Asians, like they try to portray it. Trying to portray it as it was. It was actually numbers of Anglo males who was doing that. And after they sit there and got the anti-Asian bill law passed, quietness after that. So that goes, right? Because when you say Asian, you be like, it's an insult. I take it as a highly offensive insult as well. Because you say Asian, you're like, what does that mean? Because Asia is a continent made up of dozens of countries. Makes up the Asian continent. So who the heck freak they talking about? Iran is an Asian country. Iraq is an Asian country, right? Parts of Russia is parts of Asia related to the continental part of it. You see this game they keep playing, especially toward me as American Blacks that don't know these games they keep playing with. You got numbers of people from India. They don't sit there. Let me back that. There are various types of Asian countries, ethnicities that don't like each other. But they'll sit there and try to play that pan-Asian stuff in front of millions of American Blacks and buy that nonsense. Right? Just like no such thing as Pan-African, no such freaking thing of trueness. That stuff went out in the 1990s, right? True Pan-Africanism, where it could have probably went a great direction, that went out in the 1990s. You got many numbers of African countries that don't like each other. All that tribalism going over there, but how many flee over to America that once applies to and have the nerve to talk down about Black Americans? Please. But there's no such thing as racism still going on toward Black Americans, right? You don't get that.
Frustrated, man. Especially you go to prison for a crime you didn't do, spend all that time, 24 years in prison.
Jamerson could have
can't go past that. How many years he said?
24 years in prison.
Jamerson could have gotten out sooner, but stood his ground, maintaining his innocence.
They want me to take parole, and I keep turning it down because you take parole, you can't file no lawsuit on them. That means that you take parole, that's saying that you're guilty of that crime. So I didn't mess with it.
And now that patience has paid off to the tune of $26 million. And one outstanding question: will there be any actual fallout within the agencies that led to this calamity?
I think
No. How many other Black males have been accused of falseness of rape, falseness of sexual assault, falseness of sexual harassment? Now, regardless, just men in general that have been victims of sexual harassment allegations, falsified ones, sexual assault allegations, falsified, allegations of raping this woman, female, whatever it is, whatever. And it was found out it was false allegations. How many numbers of males have been locked up for falsified allegations against them? And only what the outcome overall was in when some of them had their sentences overturned, right? To think what they had to go through in prison, when other people knowing in that system, that type of system, oh man, they're here for sit there and robbing some innocent girl, robbing some innocent woman, right? and found out that that was not true, right? All that hell they have to deal with, and how many numbers of women overallness are not brought to justice for knowingly falsifying sexual assault, falsifying sexual abuse, falsifying sexual harassment, falsifying roughness allegations, and overall they're allowed to just keep going about their business. Something that's off with the system, but at the same time, they know overall in this amount there is not enough males. They know it's not enough black males to sit there and say they have had enough of this system in the way of saying enough of this. There has to be true legislation situation, not scary ones, because it's only a small amount of political figures say, hey, no, this is wrong. We got to do something about this. And credit given to those kind. But those are going to be very small because feminism controls however many in Harvard legislature, the ones who are cowards like that. Feminism is very powerful in political spheres, right? How many numbers of black males in politicalness? How many numbers of other cultures in political males, which most of them they just do what they are told. But the ones who actually got a backbone and say, you know what, no, this is wrong, right? No, this is wrong. We got to do something about this falsified allegations. How many of them will tell people that it's been an uphill battle against that? Because there are certain forces and other type people that want to sit there and have people think that, oh my goodness, women don't lie about being robbed, to the ones who have. That women don't lie about sexual abuse. Women don't lie about sexual assault allegations. That they allege that by male, that they don't lie. Now, if it was vice versa, or should we say if majority was true, oh, you best believe there is no excuses. They want males to pay for doing that stuff to women. But at the same time, when it's to falsify allegations, and it comes out to say, hey, this woman lied, this female lied, and they're allowed to keep going about their business. Something is wrong, and this has to be changed. And many men are going to stop allowing these kind of things to be allowed overall. Because there's no way if you have a collective amount of males who are standing together, especially black males, that say, no. We demand political figures sitting there stop being sexist toward males. Because there are some unfortunately pro-womanhood males in certain sections of legislative politicalness. Oh, they are. And feminism knows it. These organizations that sit there and have a hell bent on sitting there and acting as if numbers of black women are not domestic abusers toward males. That they act like that there's no numbers of women, right? Just believe women, right? That none of them have lied on men with allegations of sexual assault, allegations of sexual abuse, allegations of sexual harassment, allegations of robbing. Right? More males about to stop allowing people to do these falsified things, start demanding people having accountability for women when they lie.
There needs to be fallout from it. The entire detectives division at the Tulsa Police Department needs radical change.
Attorney Smolin released a statement today saying in part, Mayor Nichols and the city council saved Tulsa taxpayers millions. If a jury had heard how Mr. Jamerson's conviction was based on coerced testimony and how the government withheld or concealed the pertinent DNA evidence for years, the verdict would have likely been astronomical.
Now, there's a section on that because part would have been to sit there and let that be astronomical. But at the same time, it's like, hey, it's understandable. They're trying to get the resources that they can be able to get on that situation. But this was very disturbing. Now, even though I've done shows on the falsificationness of various things by numbers of women, done various videos about numbers of bad seed personnel doing wrong things toward Black American males. I mean, I've just done various videos and various things about cultural context type things. You know what? Let me share my screen for a second. Let me sit there and show you something for a moment. 1 second here. This is from my Black Men Experiences channel. Black Men Experiences, all together, just like this right here, Black Men Experiences. You type, for anyone that's interested, type in space, it's not going to come up, but you have to type in Black Men Experiences. And again, I just do this. I do this as a timepiece purpose, because today is November the 20th, 2025. Some people might take a look at this 2 days from now, 5 days from now, 2 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Maybe some people take a look at this on this. And some people, might want to subscribe to the channel if they so find interest, or at least scan through some of these videos and watching maybe some of them. Let me go right here. As you see some of the ones, this is you got a home tab, videos tab, live tab. I'm under my live tab, as this is what's going on right now. 45, this right here, 45 years, this Black man was falsely imprisoned. What I call these Klan bad seed versions. 45 years in prison, falsely imprisoned. Now, this is a different topic right here about this Black female track and star who domestically abused this particular well-known track star, and she was allowed to sit there and go to the Tokyo Olympics of 2025 after she sit there and busted this her boyfriend in the face and shoved him out in the airport, and she was allowed to continue what she was doing, continue to have sponsorship. Another insult by itself. Black man dehumanized and humiliated by this DEI, particular Anglo woman. Look at that picture right there, what she was doing to that Black male. Another another video. Black man enslaved in prison for 28 years was finally freed. So another Black male being falsely put in prison for things he did not do. Right? And you can see some of the other different ones I've done. Now, this is interesting too. A trans woman, we don't talk about this stuff. The ones that do violence. We don't talk about that. How this trans particular woman, she deleted a Black man's life at a Brooklyn deli. We don't want to talk about things like that either, right? Another one, this Black man, a phantom. He was shot at by a bad seed officer that he faked and lied about. Yes, this is in Oklahoma too, by the way. Yes. This particular Black man, I guess it was a phantom Black man, he was shot at by this particular Anglo bad seed officer that he faked and lied about. And they found out there was no such thing as this Black male that he said that was trying to do some shooting at the officer, and they found out there was no such thing at all. This is what Black males have got to continue to be dealing with consistently. Lies, accusations, act like Black males are the most criminality type males ever in existence, when it's not, based upon statistics. It is numbers of males within the plant-based culture that commits the most crimes, but you still got people act like they don't know nothing. Right? Who does the most mass shootings? Numbers of Anglo males. But are people making numbers of Anglo males, making them feel uncomfortable? No, because people are like, you can't be saying that's not all Anglo males. Of course it's not. So how is it that you don't do the same thing in return using logical analysis. Now say, wait a minute, all black males don't commit crimes, people. Like this right here, this black American father, he reported his daughter kidnapped by his messed up demonic, by their messed up demonic mother, the kid or kids that they had, and he was being a responsibilityness of these kids because they had a bad, messed up mother, and he was taking care of the kids, doing his thing, right? And the mother came around one day, and he was just trying to show some humanity. He made a big mistake, and when he was doing something in the residence, she basically kidnapped a child or children. Can't remember if they had one or two together. And then, but he gets sit there and thrown out to the ground because he's like, they come over here question him unnecessarily on things. He's trying to tell them, look, man, I've already relayed this over. I'm trying to tell you what happened. They still look at him like he's the bad person because he didn't come across as some little sneakily high-pitched tone type black male, right? Had a masculine voice, had a masculine frame, and they didn't like that for whatever. They still like that. That's how I want to sit there and show you that. So this is again from my Black Men Experiences channel. On that, if you're interested, maybe go in there if somebody people want. If there's any time in the near future. So regardless, I just created this to do this informally, to have this as a timepiece purpose on things. So I was going to sit there and show something else, but I think I'm just going to leave it at this because I think I was going to show some articles. What I do, I just show a quick piece of an article, and I'm just going to call it a day because I was going to read some articles, but I'm not going to do that now. I've already shown that video said enough. But I do want to show this part. What they did talking about the claims were false. What we talked about already. I won't talk about that. That's not what I want to talk about. But he was convicted. The conviction continued to have lasting. When he was convicted in 1991, the conviction continued to have lasting consequences for Jamerson, even after his release in 2015. Now, remember, he was sentenced in 1991. So 1991 to 2015, he was in jail for a false accusation by this Anglo 16-year-old female who outright lied, tried to play dumb. He remained listed on Oklahoma's SOX offender registry, a mark that disrupted his employment prospects and daily life. So you imagine you're a black man, you listening to this. If you got not the 16-year-old type stuff, but you were talking to this woman, legal age, and for whatever reason, maybe like, no, I don't want to deal with her no more, whatever situation happened, and then she calls enforcement and makes a false claim of rob. Accusations, the enforcement people come by, oh, you better believe that black man's gonna get arrested. What small exceptions that they might not happen, overall, they're gonna arrest that black male. Just because she said at that moment that, oh, he robbed her or he sexually abused her off an allegation. Well, we got to do something about that. How about doing an investigation at that time before that personnel makes the determination that he may have done that? Nope. Lock up first, then, however, lawyer fees or wherever it is, then get around to it. Maybe. Like in this situation, almost 25 years, this black male was locked up. And you had people, however legalness people, however other personnel, that should have been disbarred. The other person that had covered it up and however enforcement agency place should have been brought up on criminality charges of falsifiedness, hiding evidential evidence, etc. Oh, you best believe this was a black man who did this? Please. And he was covering up evidence all over the place for allegedly robbedness of an Anglo woman by a black male. Please. And some black males did that cover up. Oh, you best believe they going to prison. prosecutors initially opposed. Hear that? Opposed initially vacating Jameson's conviction. They relied on the original identification and the 1991 jury verdict to argue that his conviction should remain. But this is the part I want to get to. On July 9th, 2024, Tulsa County District Judge, this particular person, granted Jameson's request to void the conviction, which should have been a falsified conviction, first of all. This particular judge wrote that the newly discovered DNA evidence undermines confidence in the verdict and acknowledged that Jameson's original trial had been flawed. But you got people trying to act like that Black American males just be making up stuff when the ones who know it all know who they are. That's been railroaded with falsified type allegations on different things, right? So that it goes, right? It says Oklahoma ranks among the top states per capita for overturned convictions since 1989. But that's many different other places. And so this was the article right here on November 13, 2025. There's another quick article I wanted to show you, which is very important, because let me show you this. Sometimes pictures not shown, sometimes they are, but she agreed to let her picture be shown in the various conversations that they had, because she was trying to cover herself in this situation. She know what happened. Give me a second. Let me find this here, right here. Now, right here, Tulsa to pay $26.25 million to man, Black male, wrongfully convicted, Black American male, wrongfully convicted of a ROP after decades-long fight. But this is what I want to show. Actually, let me go back. Actually, you know what? Give me a second here. It was the other article. So let me go. Well, let me just read this part here. No, I just read that. Oh, sorry. Just read that one. A part of that one. Let me go back. Let me go back and share my screen again. Because this is really what I want to show with the picture. Right here, 2023 article. DNA evidence casts doubt on Henry Jameson's ROP conviction after 24 years in prison. Right? Right here. Now look at this. Right. Some people that know. Big bad Negro. Oh, you best believe how many Black males were falsely grabbed up and frisked and treated like criminals because of this. How many? And again, especially in the 1990s, that was almost like the apex of hate crime toward Black American males. Oh, it was. Again, that's the Rodney King days as well. There's a point I was wanting to get here. This is the person right here. This is the woman when she was the grown woman now, when she was a 16-year-old teen that supposedly made allegations that that Black man did that. But then she was talking about how she was trying to cover her tracks when she was saying she tried to make something like that now that she's the victim. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, that's another part. His memorabilia from the days as a standout basketball player, talking about Jameson, has been removed from a display at Central High School. If his conviction is vacated and he's found legal innocent after crime, he could be eligible for compensation for Oklahoma's wrongful conviction fund, but the power is capped at 175 and could take years to be compensated. So on the accusation, after he's a standout player at the historic Central High School, themselves. I'm maybe thinking about Arkansas on that, a Little Rock. But in this situation with the Tulsa, this Central High School, that his standout basketball player memorabilia was taken off display for accusation, right? On that situation. I'm trying to find that part where she was, right here too. So they're trying to figure out where it is and trying to slam him based upon the accusation. And like they said, no Negro hair so far. While this particular enforcement told Dove, that's a particular Anglo woman you just saw when she was a young 16-year-old, they identified her big brute black attacker. Some evidence pointed to another possible suspect, but records show that the exculpatory information wasn't turned over to Jameson or his previous attorney before trial. Tests from the Tulsa enforcement lab on Dobbs' clothing was that night found numerous. Tests from the Tulsa enforcement lab on Dobbs' clothing, Dobbs' clothing, from that night found numerous pubic hairs from a Caucasian man. Tests from the Tulsa enforcement lab on Dove's clothing from that night found numerous pubic hairs from a Caucasian male person. Oh my goodness. Jameson said those tests were among hundreds of pages of documents the prosecutor didn't share with his attorney. Despite finding no hairs from a black Negro, right, assailant, records show prosecutors, and you know who they look like most likely, and enforcement, you know who they most likely look at, was, especially at that time, were clearly looking for them doing their bid to tie Jameson to the accusation of the falsified rock of an Anglo-Caucasian teen. But again, the ghost of the Tulsa race riot came upon, or it could have been the same outcome. Could have been the same outcome. Because when that particular Anglo woman, that one who was inside that elevator at that particular building in Tulsa, 1920-ish, when the Tulsa race, when the Tulsa anti-American black race riot by these monsters, clan member type of various types of males within the Paloma's culture, who just as certain parts of the 21st century, they look daily to figure out how can they lynch a black male? How can these do anything toward black males? Oh, there are ones still to this day. Yes, 2025, who very much like to try to do that to black males. And they're in sections of enforcement people in other different places too. This is a whole different topic. What that situation happened with the Texas A&M and whatever the other team, the college football game, where when the black football player, he scored a touchdown or something exciting, and he was going toward that particular locker room. And so then some other teammates that was coming back through, and this particular non-black trooper person from Texas, who he intentionally bumped these two black, or at least one of the black football players. I just bumped them, right? The hatred. Now, if that would have been a black Texas trooper and an Anglo football player that excited, touchdown, and he went to almost like a locker room almost to that direction, and they turned back around with their teammates and was walking back to the field, and that was a black American trooper, and he just intentionally bucked both of them. Oh, no. Right? But again, they keep trying to tell Black Americans, especially Black American males, there's no such thing as racism. You're talking about that's some top 5 extreme demonic shame tactics. And it's an embarrassment because they know it's really not enough Black Americans. There's really not enough Black American males that are beyond tired of this. Because there's no freaking way. If there was a collective amount of Black Americans, Black American males that were truly tired, there's no freaking way that there would not be an anti-American Black hate crime bill that it would be in law by now. There's no way. If you had a collective amount on the same accord, there's no way. There's no way that if you had more than 50% of Black males, more than 50% of Black Americans in general, on the same accord with reality mentality, say, wait a minute now, you got these cosplaying type of black skinned ones, they're being allowed to infiltrate HBCUs. They've been allowed to sit there and go into politicalness, right? And fight against Black Americans. Now they fled. Their countries fled. Fled. You said they fled. And how the nerve to sit there and get into these political figures and Jen have the nerve to be like, no, Black Americans shouldn't get no reparations. Are you crazy? And they know it's not enough Black Americans, not enough Black American males to say who the hell these people think they are. They show up half a second later after centuries of Black Americans already building America up, going through black pain, generations of hate crimes, laws, going policies toward Black Americans, right? By political figures, having them with the bad seeds, doing bad things toward Black Americans, lynching them, all allegations. I mean, the list goes on. And things still go on 2025. And you got these Black adjacent tethers that has showed up in a second of history because they're allowed to come over from fleeing their countries. Because the system is not going to allow a lot of decent, good ones that are not, should we say, sellouts and coons from their own cultures. They want the sellout coons and cowards to come over more and flee from their own countries because they're trying to use them against Black Americans. So I thank you for tuning in to the Black Men Experiences.